All right. So again, welcome to everybody. Thank you for joining us for the Mendoza College of Business MSBA student panel webinar. Again, I'm Stephanie Brown. I'm the Associate Director of Admission for our MSBA program. And I'm guessing many of you already know who I am if you've attended other webinars or small group chats. So thank you for joining me yet again. I am joined by some of our fabulous current MSBA students who are serving as panelists today. And so I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to them to do some introductions. So for my panelists, if you can introduce yourself. So name, where you're from, where you went to undergrad, and what you studied in undergrad. Okay, so we'll start. I'll just go with Haley to start.
Okay, I'm Haley. I went to Florida State University and I majored in statistics and economics.
Thank you. John.
My name is John Zelton. I went to UW-Madison where I graduated with an economics degree.
Okay, thank you. And Alex.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex Koo and I went to the Air Force Academy and studied operations research.
All right, thank you all so much for joining me today. All right, so this webinar is meant to be about our guests. So we want to pass over the question and answer to our guests today. So if you do have questions for our panelists, you can ask them anything. It can be about the MSBA program. It can be about student life at Notre Dame. It can be about life in South Bend. Whatever you have questions about, it can be about classes and faculty, anything. We want to answer your questions and give you a taste of what it's like to really walk in the shoes of someone who is completing this program right now. So feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A function. Please don't do the chat. If you can avoid putting questions in the chat, it's harder for me to keep track of those. So if you can submit questions through Q&A, we'll make sure that our panelists see those and we'll get everything answered for you. Okay, so we're going to leave it up to them. In the meantime, while those questions come in, I will start. So, I don't have to start. You guys are quick on the draw. Okay. Let's see here. So for everybody, Ava's got a question. What do you believe made you stand out when you were going through the application process? Oh, this is a good one. I don't think you all have had application questions before. So what do you feel made you stand out as an applicant?
I can start off. So I was kind of in a unique situation to begin with. So I went to the Air Force Academy, so I was already not going your typical undergraduate route. But I think the biggest advice I would have for someone applying is to just be yourself and don't be afraid to showcase that. I think one of the best parts of the admissions process, I think, Stephanie, I'm not sure if you still all do this, but they did the slide deck. We did the slide deck. I am a really big fan. I was a really big fan of that because you're able to make it really personal. So show pictures about who you are, what you're interested in, and just other things that aren't on a resume. And so I think that is like, of all the things you get to do besides like maybe the interview with interview during the application process, just really just being yourself and not being afraid to showcase that, especially for things like the slide deck.
Yeah, who else?
I can go. I think it's something that when I was going through the kind of like where you guys are last year, everyone was kind of worried about, your test grades and your ACT or GREs and stuff like that. It doesn't matter all too much in the grand scheme of things. Notre Dame typically do test high, but even if you don't test high, it's you just got to be willing to work. If you show that and you show your positive personality, that's kind of what they want to see here, is just a good positive personality that's willing to put in the work to become who they want to be.
Yeah. Another great answer. Haley.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that, but I guess it's just kind of like a little bit of everything. I don't think there's one specific thing that really weighs more in the process, but I think like the whole thing about it is like kind of what John said, and just like be yourself and kind of show who you are to kind of see like where you'll fit, because it's a lot about fit and not just about your grades and your past.
Couldn't have answered any better. Y'all are coming for my job, I think. No, that's exactly right. And I will share as just the admission expert on the call today is that, yeah, don't be afraid to showcase your personality and to tell your story. That is how you stand out. We can have hundreds of applicants with similar GPA and similar classes and test scores, and how do you make sense of who's who when so many applicants look alike? It's the slides, it's the essays, it's just being yourself and letting your personality shine through. That's how you stand out. That's how we know who you are. I would add to, attend events like this. Let us know that you're interested and that you're invested in learning more. I see a lot of repeat names in the participant list today, and that's a good thing. That means that you are interested. One of my panelists, I won't name who, was on a lot of my calls going through the admission process. And so I remembered them, and I always knew to expect them, and I always knew to expect new questions. Again, showcases your interest and your investment. So great answers. All right, so moving on. So Andrew's got a question. How is the workload each week, including class time, weekends, evenings? How much time do you put in?
I'll go first. I think it really can vary a lot. Like when you get closer to finals, you have like more presentations and projects to work on, so it'll be a little bit heavier. But like, for example, like last week, it was our first week of classes in the new mod. So like we really just had a few readings here and there, and it really wasn't like a ton. So like it can add up as you get to like the end of the mod, but it's kind of balanced out a little bit in the beginning to make like the end a little bit easier.
Yeah, just to go off of that, I'd say it is busy, and it also depends like if you have any other extracurricular activities you do and whatnot outside of school. But I still feel like it's very manageable, and like I think all of us here, like we've enjoyed our time here. We've gone to football games, we've hung out together, and whatnot. And I think that it is good that yes, we are busy with school, but we also still have time for things outside of school and to enjoy our time here.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the mod. Like a normal week in a mod is first and the third mod, I'd say, were the heaviest. But it was never anything that was like way too much to handle. And of course, at the end of the mods, we're taking our finals and doing our like final presentations. But all of you have gone through undergrad, so I'm probably pretty used to that.
Very good, thank you. Okay, I'm going to answer just a really quick question here to give you guys a breather for a second. So there's a question in here about employment data for international students working in the US. So I will say I do have a career development webinar scheduled for this time next week with career coach Lindsay McIntyre, and she can give you lots of great information then about that topic. And then we also have our employment report posted for the most recent graduating class posted on our website, so take a look at that as well. That does include that information. All right, let's move on. So I guess it's a question for all of you, but would you recommend getting relevant industry experience before the MSBA program to better succeed? Or do you feel like for those of you with no experience prior to starting the program, do you feel like you did fine?
I mean, as someone who came in with no experience, I feel like I did just fine. But I mean, there are people who came in with experience, so I think there's like a balance. I don't think you have to have it, and I don't think like it's really one way or the other. It's kind of just what you have is what you have when you come in.
Yeah, I mean, I had experience going in, and I don't think my experience really helped me. like significantly more than, just kind of paying attention and learning in the classes. One thing that would be probably pretty helpful is familiarizing yourself with coding a little bit before you start. That was really the big challenge of Mod 1, was kind of learning how to do it. But once you kind of learn how to do it, it's really nothing challenging.
Yeah, just going off both John and Haley, I think it really just depends. Like, I mean, like if you've been working and you've been have like a more technical background, and that is going to apply, those skills will apply to MSBA, then like, sure, it'll be helpful. But like, I also came in straight from undergrad, and sometimes coming in straight from undergrad is also good too, because you're fresh, you've been a student, and like, you're just doing this over again. And so I think it just really depends like on your background. But I'd also agree with John, like having a coding background can definitely help you out.
Yeah, and I think this aligns with another question in here that I can answer. And we don't really prefer either the work experience or having no work experience. The program was originally designed for someone who had 0 to 2 years of work experience. And historically, our cohorts have been right around 70 to 75% students coming directly from undergrad. In the past 2 years, we've really kind of eased that barrier a little bit, and we've started to admit more students who have additional work experience. So going from like maybe 3 to 8 years, and that's okay too. The academic directors appreciate having some students in the cohort with that professional experience. They can add to classroom discussions and to the group work, the capstone groups and everything. So there's value in both. So you're not at more of an advantage if you have the experience or if you don't have it. It just creates who you are as a unique individual and how you'll approach the program. So just showcase what you have and what your experiences are, and that's enough. All right. And again, I guess kind of linking to that, there's a question in here. So, whoops, where'd it go? Oh, yeah. So what programming languages are most relevant to the MSBA curriculum?
I can answer that. We actually, during orientation, will do like kind of an introduction to coding in R. And so like I coded a little bit in R in undergrad, but I wasn't as familiar with it. But because I coded in other languages before, it definitely helped with that. So R is the big one, but then also Python. We do SQL. I believe that's it. I'm not sure. I don't think there's anything else, but yeah, just those are kind of the three.
And I'm going to just add a question to this. So do you have any advice for folks who don't have any prior coding experience? Are there any of those languages that you mentioned that maybe they should kind of, look into a little bit before they start the program, or any advice on hitting the ground running there?
I can answer. I mean, you don't have to have any coding experience coming in here. You will survive. You'll be fine. It'll be a little bit harder in the first mod, but you're not gonna fail out because of it. It would definitely be R would be the one you should familiarize yourself in the most before coming here. That's definitely the language we use the most, and it's the one a lot of our professors like to use as well.
I would also add that once you learn one language like R, it is much easier to learn other languages because conceptually it's pretty similar. Like for instance, so I knew Python probably the best, and then I knew a little bit of R. But once I learned R, I mean, like, and we had to learn SQL, which I had never done before. It was like, okay, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but like it was much easier to get just because I already like knew a couple languages. And so just know that once you have one, you can work your way to the other ones.
Yeah, I kind of just agree with all that, but I'd say R would definitely be the main one, and even just coming in with like the most basic knowledge that you learn on like YouTube or Udemy or one of those websites will really like help a lot in the beginning. But if you just put more work in the beginning, you don't need as much experience, and it's just a matter of how much like effort you want to put in Mod 1, and that'll make a difference for your coding experience.
Very good. All right, so let's talk about opportunities to be involved outside of the classroom. Anyone?
Yes, I can go. I mean, even though you're a grad student, you're still a Notre Dame student, so you have all the opportunities that you would have had as an undergrad here. So you still get invited to all the like the career fair, not career fair, but like the club fairs, all of that. So you go to that, you can walk around, see what's interests you, sign up, and then you kind of go from there, and you get correspondence from them on things that you can do. And we also like there's a lot of times programs like the MSBA program, the MSM program, MSA program will set up events where you can go out and do things in the South Bend area.
I think
Yeah,
one
we
thing to
have
add.
a lot
Oh,
of,
sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, we've had like a lot of different like specialized masters, different like program things. So we had like tailgates at the football games. We had like a formal, and there's just like different events, like I'd say almost like monthly at this point. And it's just kind of like a way to connect with other master students who aren't in your same program, but are still in the College of Business as well. So that was like a good opportunity to kind of broaden your horizons on that aspect.
Yeah, what I was going to add is we also have the MSBAA, so like kind of our like groups, like student body. So like we have a class president, vice president, a couple other positions that you can be involved in if you want to be more like a part of setting up events and just other things going on for our program. And then there's also a lot of other clubs like through MBA, because you might not be taking classes with other MBA students, but you can join their different clubs that they have. And I know there's quite a few out there.
Very good. All right. Do any of you want to weigh in on the diversity of the programs? I imagine they mean the diversity of the cohort within the program. And I think that can mean anything. Diversity means a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an international student, but Stephanie, you probably know this, but I feel like we're at like 40% international students or something, like 30 to 40, somewhere around there. It seems,
it's almost 50-50 this year. We're usually right around it because we're still during the admission process, still dealing with COVID related travel restrictions, but we're usually more around like the 60-40 mark with international students at the 60%. So yeah,
so it's definitely like a prominent thing. And I feel like a lot of the international students also like have like different things that they can do like with each other to kind of like bond them, whereas they're not like as experienced with the usual like American like college experience, but they still fit right in with the rest of us. And I don't think it's anything that's like too like out there or anything like that, but yeah, I feel like there's a lot of diversity overall in the program.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of answer as like we have a lot of diverse backgrounds, like kind of like Stephanie mentioned, there are some people who have worked a few years, and but there's also like a decent amount of us that have come out of undergrad, but a lot of us studied very different things. And so it's not like you have to be on one set track in order to be a part of this program. It's just we like they want to see who you are and what you can bring to the program. And it's okay to not have this a typical like background in order to be admitted to this program.
And I can add to that as well. Yeah, diversity of backgrounds is a big thing as well. Because if you look at the breakdown of majors in the cohort, we're at about 40% what we consider other. So in that group called other, 60% would come from any kind of business major, any kind of STEM major, including engineering and math, computer science, all of that, and then economics. So that'd be in that 60%. And then the other is going to be anything from social sciences like psychology and political science to English literature, studio art. I don't know if it's this class or the class before, there was 2 German majors. There's music management, you name it, we've had it. So there's a lot of diversity of thought. within the cohort as well, just considering the backgrounds that they're coming from too. And I will add to it's something that's dear to my heart, being a graduate of a women's college. This program is almost always 50-50 men and women. I love seeing women in STEM. I think that that's such a big win for us. And I love that this program is kind of leading the way with that too. So good things happening in this cohort. Our MBA program is jealous. All right. So this next question, I hope you all know what they're talking about because I don't. So to what extent do you think a business analyst career prospects will be affected by Chat GPT?
Oh yeah. We had to talk about this in one of our classes, and Seth, I don't know if he's been on anything, but
oh yes, he has.
He was the person teaching the class, and he kind of showed us that you can't really trust ChatGPT all too much. You can type something in, but for business analytics, it sort of takes a human touch to exactly get what you want. It can give you like a skeleton of what you want, but you need to be there to fill it in. So I don't think ChatGPT is really going to affect business analytics careers all too much if they want good business analysts, but that's up to them, I guess.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah. All right. So we'll move on. So piggybacking off of the workload question, do you think it's realistic that a student could have a full-time job doing this program? I already know the answer, but I want them to hear it from you. And if not a full-time job, is a part-time job doable?
So I know a couple of people that have, I believe they're part-time jobs. I don't know. I think it just really depends on like the work hours and stuff like that. I think full-time might be a little bit a lot trickier to work with your schedule, but a lot of people here have part-time jobs on campus or just in the area. I don't have a job, but I'm on the tennis team here, and I feel like that's in a way a job because I practice every day, and my weekends are usually taken up by tennis. But like I said, it's manageable if you make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you can definitely have a part-time job, but I don't think a full-time job would be very realistic when it comes to like mods 1 and 2 when your classes are either like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's just like a big chunk of your day in class. So at that point, it wouldn't be too realistic, but I think a part-time job would definitely be fine. I know there's a lot of people with part-time jobs.
Yeah, having worked a full-time job for a year before coming here, it's definitely not feasible with kind of our schedule. And then, you need the weekends to do homework and stuff like that. So you wouldn't be able to like pack hours in there either if your company is that flexible, but you definitely could not do 8 hours a day while still doing this program. But for a part-time job, as they were saying, there's a lot of people in our program and other programs here that have part-time jobs, and they pay very well on campus here. So, and they're extremely flexible with your hours. So that's definitely feasible.
Yeah, I highly recommend if you're thinking about getting a job, really look at campus employment, because the supervisors recognize that you are here to be a student first. And so scheduling is really flexible and they work around your class schedule. They're never going to ask you to be at your job when you should be in class or when you have, some sort of an extracurricular activity related to your education. So I think that's always the best route to go. I had a thought about this and I can't remember. Nope, I just lost it again. We'll come back to it if I have that thought again. All right, so we will move on to a question about capstone projects. So how are capstone projects decided? So how are the groups decided? And then let's see here. Hold on. Okay. And then I guess, honestly, I don't think you all would know this question yet. So the part 2 of this question is, do you work with the companies after you complete the project? So I know you won't be able to answer that part, but how do capstone groups get assigned?
Yeah, so our groups are kind of just assigned to us. I think they do like some sort of algorithm behind the scenes, but I think they try and really get groups of like different backgrounds and whatnot. But it's usually like a group of like 4 to 5 people. And then what happens is on like the first day of your capstone class, which will be in like late January, they'll tell you like all the companies that are like giving projects and then kind of outline them. And then your group will kind of like rank them. And then you'll get assigned based on the rankings to a specific project. And from there, that's kind of just what you work with for the rest of the time. And yeah.
Yeah, they it is some sort of like algorithm thing because they have you take like I don't know if it's a personality test, but it's some sort of like test. They kind of try to match work styles up together. Um, and then as for working with your capstone sponsor after, I think that's very situational. I know for my capstone, he's asking if someone wants to work with our project after we all graduate. So we'll have to see about that, but it's definitely very situational and it may happen.
Yeah, and I will say, I'm not sure if that last part of the question was directed at, are you offered a full-time position with the capstone company afterwards? And if that's the case, I will say every year, maybe 1 or 2 students are offered a position. The capstone project is really meant to be a learning experience. That it's meant to be the experiential piece of the program, the hands-on. It's not meant to be focus solely on job placement. That's not the original goal for that. But you are in a professional environment for your capstone, and so your skills and your abilities and your professionalism are on display. And if you are looking for a position, that's a great place to start. So yeah, every once in a while someone walks away with an offer from those, but don't let that be your only pathway to your job offer. Definitely lean into career development and to your career coach, and they will help you along that path. All right. Let's see here. All right, I think we just answered that one already. All right, so here's another one. Does the MSBA curriculum offer adequate AI and ML practice, given the future of analytics is heading into that direction?
Yeah, I'd say we get like a good amount of kind of that material. We actually take a machine learning class, what is it, mod 2. And then I think there's more options to take another sort of machine learning elective. So like there are definitely opportunities to like really learn more about those. And then also like our professors, especially like Seth, he'll encourage us to just work on projects that are interesting to us just outside of class and for fun. And so I think those are good opportunities to really kind of immerse yourself into those fields if you're more interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, along with the whole class that's just machine learning, that's taught by Martin Barron, who's a very good professor. We do get into a little bit of ML in our Python course as well, and then there was a kind of elective that went into deeper into more like a neural nets and stuff like that. And kind of building off what Alex was saying with our professors encouraging us, it's not just like them telling us go do this. It's like they are there with you. They want to help you. They want to see you create these projects that you thought of.
Okay. All right. So moving on to a completely different topic. What's the food like? What's your favorite dining location on campus? And do any of you frequent the dining halls? I think we might need to have a discussion about housing for graduate students, maybe after we talk about do you go to the dining halls, but food on campus.
So I don't go to the dining halls a lot, but kind of like real close to the classroom where or the building where our classroom is like the Duncan Student Center, which has like a Chick-fil-A and a couple different restaurants. And one of my favorites is Modern Market. Check it out. Very good, like basil chicken sandwich of sorts. Highly recommend.
One of my faves too.
Yeah, I mean, I live off campus too, so I frequent Trader Joe's a lot more to get my groceries, and I just kind of cook at home more. But yeah, there's a lot of restaurants kind of scattered across the campus, and on Eddy Street, even there's more restaurants opening on Eddy if you don't want anything on campus. So it's just kind of like they're there. It's not that hard to get food. As for the dining halls, I've only been in like there once during orientation. It was kind of a little bit they gave us some cards that didn't really work too well, so that was a little bit fun to figure out. But well, yeah, it wasn't bad food. It was fine.
All right. Yeah, I second the modern market. Get the Caesar salad, add steak. It's amazing. Anyway, and garbanzos. It's Mediterranean. It's amazing as well. And sometimes they let me just order a cup of tzatziki sauce, and that's great. Anyway, okay, so let's go on to housing. So because I think, we get that question a lot about the dining hall, and I think the perspective is that as an undergraduate student, you're living on campus in dorms, and so the dining hall is where you would typically go for your meals. But as graduate students, your housing situation is more apartment style. So does anyone want to talk about maybe where they live, or just advice for the housing search around campus?
I can go. I'd say like the majority of us do live off campus. Now there is the Fisher residence for graduate students. So if you do want to live on campus, that's there as an option. I think just a lot of us, like, we do opt to live off campus just because there are other options. And like for me, like, I had to live on campus in all 4 years of undergrad. So for me, it was like a good change to live off campus. I would say, just depending on where you live, some of the housing options are walkable, but usually those options you have to kind of look early. So as soon as you find out you're going here, like, I would just start looking for housing right away. And if you do live a little bit farther away, like, I mean, I don't live far, like I live like 7-minute drive away, like, you should have a car because it just makes things convenient. Nothing here is like I feel like I never drive more than like, I don't know, 10-15 minutes on a daily basis. But it just does help to have a car if you can.
Yeah, kind of just to add to that, there's a lot of different like apartment options in the area, and it kind of just depends on like what you're looking for. And like there's options that are real close, but you're probably gonna have to spend a little bit more money, and there's options that are a little bit farther, but you might have to like drive to class or something like that. But I mean, like, I'm right across the street from campus, so there's like options that are like real close, but yeah, it's all just what you prefer in the end.
Yeah, there's the like Fisher graduate residence that Alex mentioned is apartment style. So while it's on campus, it's not a dorm. They are apartments. And then a lot of the off-campus grad student housing locations they're managed by the university. And so those are all apartment style as well. And they lease per bedroom, correct? Am I correct in that?
I think it depends where you live.
Where? Yeah.
Like mine is just leased by unit, but I have a roommate, so we just split the rent based on like that.
All the ones like right by campus are all like per bedroom because they assume it's all students.
Yeah. Okay, very good. All right, so moving on to yet another topic, and perhaps none of you know about this, I don't know. So have any of you looked into research opportunities with faculty outside of classes?
I personally haven't, but I know there's one person in our cohort that does do research with an economics professor. So he kind of just goes in there 2 or 3 times a week and does the research and gets paid. And I don't know how easy or hard it is to find. I don't really know how he got this position. All I know is that he has it. But I think it's just kind of just searching through faculty who are always pretty open to talk to you, especially if you're willing to help them. But I don't know how difficult it would be to find that opportunity.
Yeah, there is a space on Becoming Irish. So if you have already been admitted to the program, and I know many of you on the call have been, so you know what Becoming Irish is. In your checklist, there is an item where you can upload your resume to the marketplace for teaching and research assistantships. And so your resume just goes into this place where our faculty who are looking for assistance for either classes or for their research projects can go review those resumes and then reach out to you to do an interview, phone interview usually. That typically doesn't happen until late spring, very early summer when they're kind of turning their focus to the next academic year, but it's a very easy application process, but I don't really have any data on how many folks upload those resumes and then get calls back. So I would say that is what our faculty prefer in terms of outreach for those positions. So I would follow that as your guide. All right, so next question here. For all of you, you'll have to think about, because you all are domestic US students, so you have to kind of think about your interactions with your international peers in the cohort. So how does Notre Dame put effort into helping international students build good communication with the US students? So, can you I know we kind of talked about this a little bit already, but can you maybe dive a little bit deeper in those social opportunities where you've had the opportunity to connect with international peers?
I mean, I'll talk. One of my good friends, like one of my better friends in this program, is an international. We met at orientation, where that's kind of like where you get the first time to meet everyone, and they do a good job of having plenty of time for you to just mingle. That's kind of where you get introduced to everyone. So as in class, a lot of the professors do random groups, so you get assigned to, and usually they try to do people that you don't usually talk to or aren't at your table that you usually sit at. So that's how I've met a lot of other international students, and as well as during orientation. I obviously wasn't there, so I'm not 100% familiar, but they have an extra day before where they have all the international students go, and they kind of talk about, the American lifestyle a little bit more. I guess Stephanie could probably talk about that a little bit better, but.
Yeah, I think with the international student orientation, that's actually one of my favorite days for orientation, strangely enough. But yeah, we do talk a lot about the U.S. educational system. There's usually a session on American football, which I always find interesting. Things like that when you grow up in the US, it's just, you know about it. And so they talk about American football. We teach the cheers for the football games. They do a session called hometown presentations, and the students get to do just a quick slide presentation. I think it's like 5 minutes long, on their hometown, where they grew up in the world, and they get to talk about their culture a little bit. They might talk about traditions or food or dress, things like that. It's just a lot of fun. I always enjoy sitting in on those presentations. I always learn something new. But they do a lot of focus on cultural sharing with that. And so, yeah, it's fun. And I will add too, outside of orientation, if you've been admitted to the MSBA program, and again, I know many of you are, you should have gotten an invitation from me to join our Slack channel. So that's a good place to start connecting with your future classmates, and to start building that community ahead of time. So if you got that invitation, join the Slack channel, introduce yourself, and just start your conversations. Okay, so another good way to meet people. All right, let's see. Next question. I just saw one pop in there. Okay. So talk about career development. So what kinds of services do they provide? Tell them about Lindsay, all the things about career.
Yeah, so I can start with this one. Basically, before you even start the program, you'll like send in your resume to Lindsay and she'll give you feedback like within your first week or two on campus. And then it's kind of just up to you as to like how often you meet with her at the beginning and kind of just like what your goals are, because each person's going to have a different experience when it comes to career development. There's also like a career fair in the fall that like helps a lot of students, and there's also one in like January. And then we also have like our Bridge to Success class, which this year was held mod 3, so we just finished it a few weeks ago. And it kind of just goes through the step-by-step process. So each class you'll like go on a different thing. So like your first class, you might go over like how to read like a job description or how to write a cover letter or anything like that. And she really just helps everyone like kind of go through their own process. And you can meet with her as many times as you want outside of the Bridge Success class as well, and kind of just forge your own path when it comes to career development in a sense.
Yeah, just to add to that. So I was in this like weird position where I'm like, okay, I'm active duty military, so I don't need necessarily to look for a job right now, but I still met with Lindsay just to kind of talk like career goals and just things I was interested in, maybe like, post-military life and stuff like that. But like I'm actually still meeting with Lindsay like literally on like tomorrow morning just to like go through like my LinkedIn page and kind of just get that set up. And so it just really depends like what your goals are, but the great thing is that Lindsay is like always available to help, and like she's always encouraging us in whatever direction we want to go, and she like has your back, and so she's always a great resource to have no matter what direction you want to take.
Yeah, and I'll just add very quickly on that too. I think the career development team is very robust, and they really try to focus on every facet of who you are as you prepare for your job search. I will say one thing that Lindsay is always focused on is making sure that you're finding a role that really fits you best and fits your personality. It's not just about finding that job that pays well or has the title you're looking for, but she wants it to be a job that you're excited to get out of bed every morning for, that you want to do, that you're passionate about, and that's what's going to create this longevity in your career. And so some parts of talking with Lindsay and the Bridge to Success might feel very introspective and out of place, but it really is to get you to that place where the functions and roles that fit with your personality. So really lean into that and keep an open mind as you go through that, because ultimately you're going to appreciate it once you get that job that you love. And then I will say too, because I know we have so many international candidates on the call as well, we do have some wonderful experts in our career development team who are focused on assisting our international students with their career search as well. So not only does Lindsay help prepare you professionally in terms of your job search, such as interviewing, how to prepare for interviews with American companies, which tend to focus a lot more on cultural and community fit than just a skill set. That's sort of a difference here, and Lindsay really helps you with that. But we also have team experts who they're really more on the corporate outreach side. So they don't work with students, they work with companies, and they are talking about this program and what students and graduates from this program can bring to those companies. They are creating a database of companies that will sponsor international candidates. We don't want all of our international students to come in and know that there are 3 companies that will hire international candidates, because then all of a sudden you're competing against each other. And that's not at all what we want here. We want you to have many opportunities across industries. We want you to have opportunities that match, again, your personality and your goals. And so we have to do the legwork on the back end, and we have to create that database. So, if you're looking at in a specific industry, these are all of the companies that know about us, that know about our students, that know about this program, and who've said, yes, we want to sponsor international candidates. And so that really broadens that search for you. So know that you've got a lot of people working on your behalf on the back end, and then Lindsay is helping you work on your behalf on the front side, preparing you for those interactions with recruiters. So again, very robust. All right. So I don't see any more questions popping in. I know we're getting to the end of our time. So I will ask the last question of all of you. If we have time, maybe 2 questions here. What have you loved the most about your Notre Dame experience? Could be Notre Dame more broadly, or MSBA, whatever you choose.
I'll start. I think when I was actually interviewing with Stephanie, I asked her, like, what makes Notre Dame unique? And she was like, it's the people, it's the community. And she kind of gave like a little story about that. But after being here, like, I can fully like see it, and I fully agree with it. I really think it is the community you are part of. Like, sure, you're a graduate student. Maybe you didn't attend Notre Dame for undergrad, but you still get to be a part of the Notre Dame family. And something like that, I've just talking with other people who are graduates here, they're really like, yeah, like, I mean, the Notre Dame network is so valuable. Like, it's not just while you're here, it's beyond. Like, don't be afraid to use that. And so I think just to know that you're a part of that community and you are part of really that family, I think is something that's just really special and just really the best part of it all.
Okay.
I think I'll go a little different route than Alex. I mean, she's right with the community. There's just something about Notre Dame that's different than any other school. But the route I'm going to take is the professors here for the MSBA program are some of the best I've ever interacted with. They don't really act like your professor or your superior. They're kind of just more or less your friend that's just there to help you learn and succeed in the ways that you want to. And it's just really easy to like go and talk to them if you have an issue. Like, you should never be scared to go ask them a question. And they just do a great job with the time that they're allotted, and teaching you what they need to teach you. And it's just nice to have good professors there.
Yeah, my answer is not very unique, but I'd say like your experience outside the classroom is like just as, if not more important than your experience inside the classroom. So it really, like, no matter what you're interested in, I feel like Notre Dame has something for you. So whether it's like you want to go to sporting events, like for example, I've gone to a lot of different sporting events the past few months, or if it's whatever other interest you're in, there's different clubs and groups that you can meet around campus that'll like kind of like do something for you in a sense. So it really just depends on what you're interested in, but you'll find it here at Notre Dame. There's really something for everyone.
Very good. Great answers. Okay. All right. So one last question for you. I mentioned we've got quite a few admitted students on the call today. So first, congratulations to all of them. I think they've heard my congratulations multiple times already, but I'll say it again. And so for my panelists, what's your best advice for them to be successful and to make the most of this program?
I think like,
start.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, well, Alex can start. Okay, I'll go. I think like just the most important thing in general is just like coming in with an open mind and not like being so set and like wanting to learn something specific or wanting to do something specific with your career, because really you'll learn so much that like your thought processes will change a lot over time, and like kind of like where you approach or like how you approach analytics will change so much just after like the first mod, that it's really important to like come in with an open mind based on like what you'll learn. And there's just so much to learn at the beginning that it really is an interesting process.
Yeah, I'd agree with Haley, and like just going in like with the open mind and like knowing you're gonna have to put in the work, but that like it will be completely worth it. But I think something else to add was just to enjoy the time like outside the classroom too, because there is, like I said, this is a really special community you get to be a part of, and this is a 10-month program. So like, unless you went here for undergrad, I mean, like these months go by quick. Like it's hard to believe we're graduating in less than 2 months here. So really just make the most of your time outside of the classroom. So go to football games, go to other sporting events, go just hang out with people and just get to know people, because you're only here for such little time. So make the most of that.
Probably to buy a winter jacket. I'm pretty used to it from the Midwest, but I know it was a big surprise for a lot of people that aren't from around here. But kind of just building off what the other two have said, they're saying how quick the 10 months go, but in that 10 months, you're able to transform yourself into the person and employee that you want to be here at Notre Dame. So you can come in and you might think you want to become one person, but as you go through, you realize that's not who you really want to be. That's a positive. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. And you can do that here. And that's kind of, I think, one of the best parts.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for those great tips and advice, and for all of your wonderful comments. And thank you to all of our guests who joined us today. Again, I know for some of you it's very, very late at night, very early in the morning, so we really appreciate your time. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have additional questions. My email address is up there on the screen, and if my panelists feel comfortable sharing their contact info, feel free to do so in the chat. And also know too that we've got really some phenomenal representatives of the MSBA program here on the call, but we also do have additional students through our contact a student link on our website as well. So if you want even more perspectives, feel free to check out that link as well. But again, congratulations to everyone who has been admitted to the MSBA program. To all of you who are still considering applying, I'm here to help and hope to make that process smooth and hopefully a little fun. And I think that I saw a couple of names on our list today who interviewed with me. So good to see you and good luck with the next month of waiting. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. Again, thank you to my wonderful panelists for helping me out yet again with one of these sessions, and we'll all be in touch soon with another event. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.